This is Ken Carson, Playboi Carti's wildest artist.
Oh, I slapped my teacher when I was 10.
I said I got Glock 19s, ARPs, I got hella Ks because I really do.
I'm literally partially crazy.
His music has taken over the underground over the past few years, putting on the craziest shows ever and creating albums that people would call Album of the Year. And this is all because of his ability to make music that would make you want to rage. Ken has a lot of critics because of this, filled with people underrating his music and a few controversies within the underground. Ken's story shows a person who didn't have much to having the entire industry at arm's reach. He's one of the 3 figures leading the charge for changing the music industry in the 2020s. So, let me help you understand his story by taking you all the way back to April 11, 2000. Ken Carson was born Kenyatta Lee Fraser Jr. Ken was born to Kenyatta Lee Fraser Sr. and a mother whose name we don't know about. But it was his mom that would spark his interest in music, playing artists like Soulja Boy and Lil Wayne in the household. His mom was also tapped into the Atlanta trap scene, where Future would be a notable part of it. As Ken was growing up in Atlanta, he was just like you and me. He was watching cartoons like the Boondocks, even calling Riley his favorite character. And he played video games like Def Jam and WWE. And Ken was also a football fan, looking up to the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, calling him the GOAT. He also loved anime like Danganronpa, and he read a bunch of comic books. The most well-known comic book is probably something that you know, and that's the X-Men comics. But just like Wolverine, Ken wasn't the most peaceful guy in school.
Oh, I slapped my teacher when I was 10.
But it was in school that really put Ken in the position that he's in today. Ken was talking to a girl from school on FaceTime while watching an 808 Mafia video. And there was a guy with that girl who happened to be TM88's nephew.
He was on the other end. I'm like, who the fuck is that? Like, it was him. And I was watching 808 Mafia videos like while we were on the phone. And he like, that's my uncle. And I'm like, no, it's not. He just put him on the phone. And I was like, yo, I'm trying to come over there and work.
If you don't know what 808 Mafia is, it's one of the biggest production teams in Atlanta, founded by both Southside and TM88. Southside has songs with Travis Scott, Kanye West, and Future, producing the iconic song Mess Up Some Commas. And TM88 would produce one of the best emo rap songs of all time in EXO Tour Life. As Ken became friends with Lil 88, he became more and more present in those studio sessions. He started seeing how the recording process worked and naturally picked up on it. And because of that, he has the connections he's needed to make a breakthrough in the industry. He'd meet people like Young Thug, Travis Scott, and Future. But his music journey wouldn't start yet. He was still in school and he didn't really like it. So he naturally did what anybody would do when they don't like school: drop out. And he was then sent to military school. It was in military school where he would start questioning what he wanted to do in life. And this was mainly because he didn't really have anything to do in military school. He wasn't allowed to have his phone around, but he had it anyway, and he was FaceTiming some of the females. And this had him sent home early. But it was the constant thinking in military school that led him to wanting to do music. And that would come in the song 32. Ken actually got a blog post from the page Rap Direct. And if you're asking how we can hear this song, we're never going to hear the song. And that's because of Ken's ex-girlfriend.
Before somebody had deleted my SoundCloud, this girl I used to talk to, she had deleted my SoundCloud.
And you know what you can do to prevent getting your SoundCloud or anything deleted or leaked? By signing up to Aura. Do a quick Google search on your name or email, and you might find that your personal data is being leaked by big corporations and data brokers. Well, Aura, today's sponsor, is here to fix that. Aura is a service that can actually remove your data from these databases by simply sending them a request to opt out. Imagine listening to Ken Lone or Carti, and you automatically get an ad for an all-black outfit. That's kind of weird, isn't it? These companies have your data, but Aura is here to fix that. Aura is also a service that has a VPN, a password manager, and parental controls. That's crazy. If you got kids like Onyx, you might need that, and a lot more. Everything's integrated, and it doesn't really cost that much either. And you'd still have enough money to buy a great Chaos.com merch. Now, you probably have a password manager with your iCloud, and you might have a VPN, but why not get both? Why not get everything? This is why
Aura is the service for you. Use Aura today using the code aura.com/MattOwens for a 14-day free trial to protect your data and your information. Back in the video. Ken at the time went under the Instagram handle Boy Barbie Ken Carson. And this is because he believes that Barbie's boyfriend, Ken Carson, is a fly dude. And they both share the same 3 letters of their names.
My real name is Kenyatta, but everybody called me Ken, so like it like went right along.
And most importantly, as Ken puts it, he just has a hard lifestyle. And in the same year, Ken started talking about artists he wanted to work with, such as Skrillex and another artist who was present in those studio sessions, even going as far as saying he was better than Lil Uzi and how he was better than everybody. Ken was about 2,175 miles from Atlanta in one of Carti's shows in Los Angeles, with Carti performing songs like Broke Boy and Fetty. Ken was enjoying the show until he wasn't. Ken got kicked out because
I had got the fame.
And Carti noticed this. Knowing Ken made his way from Atlanta to the crazy distance of Los Angeles, he felt a bunch of empathy for Ken, getting him a wristband to get back into the show, starting a relationship that would change music only a few years later. And like Carti, he was really into fashion. His first interactions with fashion were the Jeremy Scott lines with Adidas, which he thought was the coolest thing in the world. And after they stopped making those, Ken started getting heavy into the Japanese fashion scene. When he started researching where most of the designs came from, he eventually got into brands like the likes of Number 9, Undercover, and Miharas. However, his outfits at the time were pretty basic. If you look at these pictures, Ken's wearing a bunch of Jordans with another picture of him in the studio with a caption, "I woke up like this," with fans saying he looks like the NBA player Anthony Edwards in that headshot. These pictures were all released in 2017, which was the same year that Carti released his debut mixtape, self-titled, having classics like Magnolia and Woke Up Like This. And if you remember that post from earlier, fans stated that he predicted Woke Up Like This. He actually loved self-titled so much that he'd call it the most inspirational album ever. And it was from this inspiration where Ken would drop his only surviving song from that era, called Geeked Up, on June 27, 2017.
These niggas hating, but they still stealing swag from Barbie. And niggas bitches wanna fuck, that's why they all salty.
At the time, Ken was constantly recording music, being in the studio in LA frequently. And it was in 2017 where Ken would perform in a live audience for the first time, and he would perform songs like Geeked Up, where I can't really find footage from. Ken also started hanging out with other underground rappers like Doo-Wop Kane. But even with the world in the palm of his hands and he's feeling like he could do everything he wanted, Ken also felt something: isolation. Ken felt like he had no friends. Ken even had a tweet towards God saying he was doing bad and questioning the existence of happiness. Ken had all the pressure in the world to become something. And that's exactly what he would try to do in 2018. Music was the only way out for Ken. And he'd do just that, releasing this song called Dream, produced by TM88. With Future's influence heavily rubbing off on Ken.
I can't fall in love with no freak. All that fussing and fighting, baby girl, I don't need it.
And it was in the same year where Ken started distancing himself from wearing Jordans and Nikes, opting for a more archive-like style. This was evident in a song with Young Jordan called Fan Behavior, released on February 25, 2018, wherein he references Raph Simmons and Rick Owens.
I've been rocking this Ricky Rack. I've been rocking this referee. She got her neck for a dominate. I would never need a stylist.
At the same time, Ken started getting traction in the underground, even getting a co-sign from Made in Tokyo, who at the time was up, having released Uber Everywhere just a few years prior. Ken followed that co-sign up by saying he'd drop an actual tape in the 31st of October. And if you think that date is familiar, it would actually be a reoccurring theme in Ken's music. But unfortunately, that tape didn't release in October. Ken would state that he'd release Boy Barbie in January, and early Ken fans were anticipating Ken to drop something, and he was going to. He teased the release of a song called Fold. The teaser was of a video where a Barbie doll was being pulled, and Ken's song was playing. If you think V-Files Loud is familiar, V-Files Loud actually featured legendary artists before they were up. It had artists like
No, V-Files fuck with the young niggas before they even was flexed up.
From
the rip.
and Ken was going to be a part of the people that V-Files would mess with. And through V-Files, he'd release the song Fold. As part of the promotional material, Ken was rapping to the beat produced by Richie Self. On November 30, he'd released the actual song. And I'll let you be the judge.
My bedroom won't follow. Girl, I'm tryna fuck, take off your pants, so what's down hollow? She like when I hit it from the.
One of the commenters on the song was Danny Cruz, and he'd actually predict Ken's future success. Ken was next up. However, there was something brewing in next year. And no, it wasn't Ken chopping Boy Barbie. I'm pretty sure you know where this is going. In January of 2019, Ian Connor released a tweet, "Whole Lotta Red," and how it was going to be the best album of 2019. At the time, songs like Cancun, directed by Hiji World, already surfaced, and fans were heavily anticipating the album. Boy Barbie didn't drop yet, and Ken was hanging around Carti a little more. But before you think Boy Barbie doesn't have a chance at all, Ken released a picture of the Boy Barbie cover art in February 23. It features the 808 Mafia tag right below, and had songs that were already released like Geeked Up and Dream. Ken said that the album was going to release in March, but it never came out. Fans would point out that Ken lied about his first EP, but what if I told you it was for a good reason? This was because an album was rolling out. In April of 2019, the rollout of Whole Lotta Red was in full effect, with Carti's baby voice slowly taking over the year. Ken was closely working with Carti at the time, building a relationship that would eventually start the Opium label. And because of the belief that the album was going to come out sometime soon, Ken would held the release of Boy Barbie for Whole Lotta Red. Whole Lotta Red was about to drop sometime that year, and it was further exemplified with a song that you know, leaking, called Pissy Pamper with Young Duty. And in November 2, 2019, Carti posted a picture on his Instagram saying Opium Heart. Fans thought Carti was just being edgy, adding on to his mysterious rockstar persona. But something deeper was happening. This was the first sign of Carti starting the label that would change music forever. Ken followed this rockstar energy up by saying they wished they was Opium. And another artist was rumored to join the label alongside Ken, who was already hanging around Carti at the time, which was Lancey Foe.
He was in Atlanta. Carti had him in Atlanta. And I was like, damn, I just see him on Instagram. It's crazy. Yeah.
We're not at that point yet. Carti had to roll out Whole Lotta Red and his new label, which was Opium. Moving on to the next decade, Carti had an arsenal of artists alongside Ken, which was Lil Unky, Capo, and International Jefe, with International Jefe being one of Ken's most frequent collaborators. But Ken would post another picture to his Twitter alongside Lancey, so rumors of Lancey being an Opium were getting higher and higher. And another picture was important more than that one. Carti was supposed to do an interview with Icebox, and Ken was supposed to be with Carti for that interview. So a picture of Ken and Carti would surface in February 6th, with Carti being really close to Ken. The Opium rollout was in full effect, and a song with Lancey was supposed to come out. But that song wouldn't release just yet. Ken released songs with International Jefe on the song Spaced Out and Call Nobody.
I'm in the beat with Carti. I got two bad Barbies. Fuck her on the back seat. Yeah, ride it like Harley.
And that song with Lancey would come out in April 16th, with Ken releasing the long-awaited project Boy Barbie. Boy Barbie is Ken's first official project, which was 4 years in the making, with the project first being mentioned in 2017. The project featured 6 songs with features from International Jefe, Lil Unky, Lancey, and Lil Yachty. If you notice the old track list, most of these songs didn't make the cut, as Ken was going for a more different style in the project. The tape showcased flashes of Ken's potential as an artist, having multiple flows and voices in it, such as his aggressive voice on the song Pink Panther with Lancey Foe. And another song that came up was the song Gold Medal with International Jefe and Lil Unky, which actually received a music video in June. If you see that text at the start, it says Opium, styled in the Comme des Garçons asterisk, and the description says apes on opium. The song was also produced by Richie Soph, with fans drawing comparisons of Carti, Fawny, and Uno to Unky, Hefe, and Ken. And that would hold true only a few years later, but for a different reason.
If having hoes was sport, then I have a gold medal. And I ain't worried about it, I'll let them die slow like rose petals.
Boy Barbie was a solid tape from Ken, but there was something even better that was going to come out. At the time of the release of the tape, the rage genre was at its infancy, with people like SoFago being credited as the pioneer or founder of the genre. Fans appointed Ken as another pioneer and founder of the genre, even influencing Carti and Whole Lotta Red. But we're not at that point yet. Boy Barbie saw Ken's first rage-like song on Mosh Pit, paving the way for what the sound of the next project was going to be. And that was Teen X. The 21st of June, Ken released a post on Twitter previewing a multitude of snippets. This culminated into a snippet in that Twitter post being one of the most iconic Ken songs ever, featuring a beat from Eternal Atake producers Starboy and Outta Town, the Dutch duo, who would later shape Ken's future music. But unfortunately, a reoccurring theme in Ken's music would come with his songs being leaked. And due to the immense pressure of the project being leaked prematurely, he'd scrap the entire thing, saying that Teen X was gonna come, but not from him. Fortunately for Opium fans, Ken would do something in August 14. Ken would release Teen X, featuring productions from the Dutch duo of Outta Town and Starboy carrying the sound of the mixtape, being entirely new, hyperpop-esque, introducing the world into the modern rage sound, with its cover art detailing a Teen X pill on the tongue, showing the party themes of the mixtape. The meaning of Teen X, as Ken describes it, is teenage ecstasy.
It means teenage ecstasy is like a young high.
The intro of the mixtape is the song Teen X, talking about themes of hugs, which is a reoccurring theme into the album. But there was a song that was more important than that, a song that would shape the modern underground today, and I'm sure you know what that is. Yeah. People actually would repost the song hundreds and thousands of times. This song would actually get Ken his first gold RIAA certification. But aside from Yale, the mixtape also has songs like Why, detailing why people steal Ken's swag, and Pissed Off, the second most popular song off the tape, with a classic production from the Dutch duo once again. After the project, Ken would eventually do something else. Ken would ask fans if they wanted Teen X 2 or Boy Barbie 2. But the project that would win out was Teen X Deluxe, which featured a white silhouette of the album, inverting the black theme. Ken also said the project had features, leading to the belief that Carti and Lancey was going to be on it. The rollout of Teen X Deluxe was met with some pushback, with Ken encountering the same leaking problems that he had before. This was mostly due to Ken having fake friends and people taking advantage of him. At this point, Ken was working with Carti's people, notably Joy Division. Joy is a videographer and a fashion designer who helped style Carti from time to time, and would seek his assistance in shooting the music videos for the next project. In October, Ken started previewing the possible theme of the next project, talking about how he's high as hell, and was followed up by pictures of the movie Project X, with them wearing Teen X merch alongside the caption, Deluxe Mode. However, there was a big issue, and it was Ken. Ken failed to drop the mixtape, and he would say that there would be no features on the tape, and it wasn't gonna be the same. The Deluxe was canceled, and Ken asked his fans for another title for the project. Don't get it wrong though, Ken still has the project. It's just the title not being there. And Ken would settle on a title that we all know and love today, Teen X Relapsed, which is Ken's final EP. But there was something brewing in November. It was something that would push the day back of the project, and for good reason. Ken was going to be involved in Whole Lotta Red, and he was going to produce in what was to be, in my opinion, the greatest album of all time. November saw the rollout of the album start with Carti surprising the world with the post, "Album turned in," followed up by a snippet of a song produced by Young Lord and T-Nex producer Out of Town, which also had Kanye West in the song and Go to the Moon. But even at Ken's highest point, with his next mixtape releasing and his role in producing a song in what's arguably the greatest album of all time, Ken still went through a bunch of issues. He said it was okay to be by yourself and alone. He had relationship issues and said he wasted his time with a girl, which would be a reoccurring theme later in his music. And Ken would do his best to move on by releasing promotional material of Relapsed. This was done through various medications, but the mixing and mastering of the tape wasn't ready yet, and he couldn't drop because he wanted the tape to be fully fleshed out, pushing the date of T-Nex Relapse to 2021. And around the same time, something else was being finished. Carti still didn't release Whole Lotta Red, gaining a lot of backlash from fans. One of those fans came by the name of Mario Judah, and he demanded that Carti drop Whole Lotta Red or he was to drop the album for him. And that's exactly what he did, copying Carti's flow, voice, and beats for the album. But Ken didn't really like this and said Mario Judah wasn't cool. But Carti would finally release the project in December 25, 2020. And the tape would be produced by a variety of producers, including Out of Town, Starboy, Filthy, Lil 88, and most importantly, Ken Carson. Ken produced the song Bino, which makes a reference to his fellow Opium member Homicide Bino, who, if you didn't know, used to be his former manager. And the beat really sounds like a Ken Carson beat. Ken's also mentioned in the song Teen X, with the song's name paying homage to him. The song featured Future and Carti producing Masterpiece, and what was to be one of the best songs to come out of Whole Lotta Red, with Carti repeating the line, The entire album was amazing, filled with high energy tracks, perfect in front of a live audience. And that's exactly what Carti did. In December 27, there was an announcement that Carti and Ken were going to perform in New Year's Eve in Cyberworld. However, you still got to remember the year, 2020. And the live audience had to be behind a Zoom call. But nevertheless, they would perform in Cyberworld, with Ken showing his capabilities as a live performer. And it showed that he had a lot of potential, with people in the Zoom chat going crazy. The final song that Ken performed in this set was the song High as Hell, a preview into what the next project, T-Nex Relapsed, was gonna be. And it was beautiful. And around the same time that Carti dropped a Whole Lotta Red, he had another artist. Associated acts like International Jefe and Capo weren't as involved anymore, but another guy who Ken would be best friends with only a few months later would sign to Opium. He's actually known this guy since he was 16, and Opium J gave him a call right after Whole Lotta released, telling him Carti wants to talk to him. I'm talking about Destroy Lonely, Ken's future Opium twin, and he was gonna work with Ken, but not yet. Fans were fiending for new music from Ken, and he'd do just that, but not in the actual tape. Ken released the first of many in his Lost File series, with the songs Opium, Bad Stuff, and Stuck with Lil Yachty, all being primarily produced by Lil 88. This is what we call Lost Files 1. The mixing on this mixtape wasn't the best, but they're throwaways for a reason. The best song to come off this Lost Files was the song Bad Stuff, and it just puts you in a good mood.
Fuck this shit up. I know what you cannot do, you cannot do, but I cannot fuck this shit up. I know what you cannot do, you cannot do, but I cannot fuck this shit up.
After Ken released this, it was EP time. But what if I told you that that couldn't happen again? Ken's Instagram was disabled, and Ken and his fans were in shambles. He'd release a picture of him appealing the termination and went on to say that he was retiring from music. It was as if his career was over, but something lit a fire in Ken that made him keep going. The day after, Ken released a video of the High as Hell music video, and on the 31st of January, Ken released T-Nex Relapsed, mostly recorded in Los Angeles, featuring songs like High as Hell, produced by the Dutch duo, being one of the 2 songs on that mixtape that would actually release a music video. It's a song that you can both chill to and mosh to, and as Ken describes it,
It's a do what you want song, however you're feeling. Everybody got a personal feel from that song.
Ken received overwhelmingly positive feedback for the song. And new fans were saying that he was bringing back the 2015 SoundCloud feel of Lil Uzi Vert and Playboi Carti. And another notable song to come from T-Next Relapse was the song T-Next Babe, produced by Jubilee and Rourke Bailey, where Ken details his ideal woman. T-Next Relapse was definitely worth the wait. Fans even expressed their love for this tape, calling it his best EP ever, and it's hard to argue with that. And Ken would also do his first interview promoting the project with the music group Our Generation Music, hosted by Ayo Hakeem, who would also interview Destroy Lonely. He would also set up his pop-up shop, following his dreams of actually being a fashion designer, with the T-Next merch being the centerpiece within that pop-up shop, hosted by Cookies and Kicks in Los Angeles, with Ken being asked really tough questions.
You signed to Opium. Yeah. Who else is on that label? Can we say it? Can we let him know?
Around the same time, there was another artist tweeting out just Opium Please and Opium Love, and he'd go on Instagram Live confirming that he joined the label that would change his career.
I need to keep asking. Yes, I'm Opium. That's what y'all want to hear me say. I said it.
With Lone and Opium, Ken would welcome him with open arms, but they didn't have much public appearances together. But at the time, fans were wondering what Ken was up to, and Ken would do a shocking announcement for his next project. His next project was going to be called Project X, with rumors of the new Opium signee and Carti making appearances on the album, due to him saying he'd bring every artist to it. If you don't know what Project X is a party rager film about kids throwing the craziest house party ever, and Ken was basing his debut project around that, featuring themes of his childhood and party lifestyle, and just going crazy. Ken would say that the project was going to release in spring/summer 21, sometime around April to August, and he'd go on Instagram Live previewing the possible sounds of the project, and it's just amazing. But what's even better than that was a song with the new Opium signee. We would get the first taste of the Opium twins coming in March 2021, with Ken and Lone having their first collaboration together in the song Casket.
Casket, we gonna perform a lot of shit, bro. Like,
so you and Ken recorded a whole bunch of more music, right?
I just been studio with Ken yesterday. Like, me and Ken, we do that.
From the first time they collaborated together, there was instant chemistry. It just sounded good. Afterwards, Ken would start working hard in the studio for Project X. He'd add on to the rollout by posting pictures of GTA-themed promotional material, followed up by a potential album feature in Lil Tecca. Fans even asked him to work with Pierre Bourne, in which he'd say no to because Pierre said he wasn't at his level, which Pierre is gonna regret in the future. Ken was about to turn 21 on the 11th of April, and you know what that meant. Project X was about to drop, and fans were excited. I was excited. The clock hit 12, but there was still no album. But what was there was a tweet of Ken saying, "Don't panic, tell me happy birthday and I got you." And he didn't have us. But what we did have was a picture of King Vamp and Ken taking fit pics together. The theory was that Carti was going to be on the album, and that's why the delay was happening. This was further supported by Carti having the Sky music video with people wearing Teen X merch in the music video. But we still didn't get anything, leading to this picture being modified with the text, "The Liars," since Project X wasn't projecting, until Ken gave another date in May 7, and Ken would deliver not the album, but an announcement that he was going to be in Summer Smash, one of his first major performances ever. But a person that would be great in Summer Smash at any given time was XXXTentacion, and on June 18, in the 3rd anniversary of his death, Ken would pay homage to one of the greatest performers of all time, R.I.P. X.
To me, X was like a big energy, bro, because it's like he was like speaking for the youth, really, bro. Wasn't like it was just him getting love, the most love. He was getting the most hate. That shit is crazy how somebody can like just be here today, gone tomorrow. RPX, man.
And Lost Files 2. But wait, another lie came. And Starboy saying that Ken can't drop Lost Files 2. Fortunately enough, Starboy let Ken drop, and songs from Lost Files 2 finally came. And it was a song that fans have been waiting forever for, which was Glock 19.
I hit a Glock 19 before I was 19 years old. Ay. I was only 11 when I saw my daddy scrape the bowl. Ay.
But the song that overshadows everything is a song that would take over TikTok, putting Ken on the map, and would become a Ken Carson classic. And the live performance is all you need to know about the song.
She like, ain't you Ken Carson, ain't you teenage?
Afterwards, Ken would give the actual release date of the album, giving us the date of July 23. And hopefully he's telling the truth. But before everything came out, Ken actually had beef with Can. If you don't know who Can is an underground artist who's released songs with Yeet and Summers. Being a former producer for Slay World, he even has production credits with Destroy Lonely. Ken apparently said Can was biting his flow, with Can dissing Ken on IG Live. This then led to an audio that you'd hear a year later, with his son talking to his mother about the beef.
Hey Noah, you heard that Can versus Ken beef?
Yo mom, like no bullshit though, but Can literally wipes the floor with Ken Carson.
Nah, he's not even Teen X. Fuck him.
And another day passed when Ken finally projected X, releasing the 11-track album in all streaming platforms, with the album cover being slightly different from the original one. If you notice the album cover, it directly interpolates the Project X movie poster, and the album is exactly what you think of it. Party Rager music. The album starts with the song Who's Next, produced by Loso, and it's exactly how you'd feel when a party's just starting. But the song that would come after that is a fan favorite, with fans going absolutely insane when the song plays in the concert. The music video for the song was amazing. It has multiple references to the X-Men comics, with Ken doing something similar to Juice WRLD and having a mixed reality experience. He even references Kid Cudi's Day and Night in the video. And in the end of the music video, Ken teased another song. And that's the song that's we're going to cover next, which is Run Plus Ran. Run Plus Ran directly picks off from what Rock and Roll had. Run Plus Ran is a song that you can just put on in a party, and that's exactly what the visuals for Run Plus Ran detailed. And there's a second act in the song called Ran, where everyone's just tripping out, turning into creatures, and you're probably just super tripped out after the party. Not that I know that. The last two songs that I'm going to cover from Project X are Hella and Change. Hella is one of the best songs that you can play in the mosh pit, detailing the entire Rager experience, even though Ken's music isn't really rage music. But the song Change is a song that's gonna put a smile into your face. Ken would say that Change is his realest song, and it's kind of hard to argue against that.
Send me the every little bitch and it's up. She dropped the dot and if you pull up. Gotta be cautious with these bitches, yeah. I gotta be stitches, you can't get my love.
Pitchfork actually gave the album a 6.0, and it's not that bad for a debut project. This was also the first project or album made under the Opium label. However, fans wanted more music, and Ken would do just that, announcing the release of Project Extended, the Deluxe. It was said to drop once again in Halloween. If you notice a reoccurring pattern with Ken, you know where this is going. Ken would then do a bunch of interviews, most notably in Montreality, saying the iconic line,
"Don't be a judger, bro. Don't be a judger. Let God, leave it up to God to judge a motherfucker, bro. You ain't even looked in the mirror yet."
But there was still no new music, since another guy had to dish something out first. In August 23, the rollout for Carti's supposed next project started, with him posting the words "Narcissist 9/13/21. Fans theorized what this might have been. Was it new music, merch, or a tour? Was the new album gonna have Ken Carson and Destroy Lonely? Was it gonna be an album? Unfortunately, it didn't end up being an album. The date 9/13/21 would pass, and all we got was merch. But another thing that we would get was a tour called the Narcissist Tour. And Ken would open up for Carti, performing the songs with an electric guitar infused instrumental, putting the Narcissist shows into life. And this was most evident in Ken performing in his hometown in Atlanta. Afterwards, Ken would go into the studio with his open twin, Destroy Lonely, working on a song called Raver for Ian Connor's brand Sicko, which has a lot of throwaways for both Ken and Lone. Raver showcases Ken having a crazy flow. You be the judge. And moving to January, fans were looking at Ken to drop Project Extended. He dropped a bunch of fit pics, most notably wearing the Vetmon Alpha Industries racing jacket, which is a staple within the opium fashion community and the archive fashion community, and it's closely related to a hoodie that another guy wore in the future, or whatever. But a post announcing something more important happened with the Lost Files. Instead of Project Extended, we got Lost Files 3 in January 29, 2022. And is a fan favorite and one of my favorite Lost Files to come from Ken. It features 9 songs with classics like Hang Fire, which is said to be Ken's most inspirational song.
You don't do it enough. You don't do it enough. I'm high as shit. I got one heart, ain't no tricks.
Another track that would overshadow all of these tracks and is my favorite track off this album is the song Murder Music, the epitome of the Opium Twins, with fans saying it's one of their best collaborations ever. After the Lost Files, the next thing to come was the actual album, and we were just waiting for it. We got a bunch of fit pics, Instagram lives, but we really didn't get anything. Instead, Ken would hang out with Yeet and actually made a song with him in the song Geek High. And he would also go to Icebox alongside Destroy Lonely with Yeet and September's Rich. We then got a few shows announced for August, with Ken and Lone performing in Europe and North America, called the X-Man Tour. Lone was opening for Ken, and Lil 88 was doing most of the DJ work for the sets. This was followed by another Lost Files and Lost Files 3.5 in June 2022. Lost Files 3.5 has a lot of songs like Lil Vamp, which samples Playboi Carti's Woke Up Like This, and it's catchy.
It's Lil Vamp. She wanna get big, come to my castle and get stamped. It's OPIU and your bitch tatted a harder ground.
Another notable song from this Lost Files was the song X Games, detailing the extreme lifestyle that an Opium listener would go through. It also pays homage to Burberry Airy, Opium's official skater and one of the most down-to-earth Opium members. And another song would come after this by the song X for Breakfast, which is a song that puts you in the mosh pit.
Yeah, got it for that bitch, she mad, cause I still ain't tested back. Bitch, I'm in the fashion, yo, but my brother serving crack.
The last song I'm covering from this Lost Files is the song Aquafina, one of the most emotional Ken Carson songs ever. Fans theorized that this song was about one of his girlfriends, and it just details how it feels to be in love. Finally, in June 28, Ken announced the cover art and release date for Project Extended. The project was going to be known as Just X, releasing on the 8th of July 2022. This was then followed in July 6, with Ken releasing the music video for the lead single of the album, which was The End, making references to bands like Green Day, which was the supposed title of the single before he changed its name. Lone even made an appearance in the music video, and if you invert the colors to the music video, you might see something special. Finally, after months of waiting, Ken would finally release X, featuring 20 tracks executively produced by Playboi Carti. And it was met with a bunch of mixed reactions, with people saying it was one of the best projects of that year, including me, and with a lot of critics giving it 0 and calling it hot garbage. Anthony Fantano actually gave this project an absurdly low rating, calling Ken a dollar store Playboi Carti. But in my opinion, X wasn't like any of that. X was a 20-track album that showed Ken's capabilities, with him growing out of the Teen X persona, becoming the X-Man, which was noted in the intro.
I remember I was just teenage, then I turned to a man. Now they call me X-Man.
But a track that would make you feel like you can just go speeding, I don't recommend you do that, is the song Go. And that's exactly how you feel when you're listening to the song.
I got all of these bitches on go. I got all of these bitches on lit. Shawty fell in love with my swag. Now she rockin' Balenciaga.
But the song after this was even better, with fans saying it's what it means to be opium, rapping about fashion and the opium lifestyle. The song's named after ecstasy and MDMA. But there's an even better song to come after this, and that's Freestyle 2. Freestyle 2 is the GOAT mosh pit song, according to Destroy Lonely. It's a song that makes you want to rage, a song that makes you want to break something. Ken even did an interview just for the song, explaining the lyrics. This song even went viral, with people like Diddy Bop making a dance to it, and his girlfriend Tina Tonkin would also copy that dance. And to be honest, I think X is a great album, but people didn't like it. But despite the criticism, Ken pushed through, and fans wanted more music. What we did get was a potential deluxe by saying the words extended. This then culminated into the X-Man tour, with Ken performing live in one of the most crazy shows you can ever see in Rolling Loud. But something else had to come out first before Extended, and that was Destroy Lonely's No Stylist. Ken was a part of No Stylist as the sole guest feature, and on August 12th, Lone would release the album, with the song Veteran being one of the best songs to come off the album. But after No Stylist, fans wanted even more, and Extended was about to come soon. So Ken had a preview on his Instagram Live with a snippet where fans would know the lyrics to this song before the song was actually even released. This song would be called Freestyle 3 and would officially be released on Halloween 2022, which was extended, featuring 5 new songs added to the album. Notable songs on this tape are the songs Shoot and Lookbook, but my favorite song off this deluxe is the song Lookbook, produced by Nila World and Lucrative. Lookbook mainly focuses on fashion, and it's Ken's passion. But there was another thing that you should know, and it was teased in Halloween, with Ken and Lone driving around in masks, with a snippet of a song playing. Fans called the song Snitch, theorizing that this was going to be Ken's song. This was also supposedly to be on Lone's next album, If Looks Could Kill. Ken was also rumored to be part of that album. Well, that should be a given, with even more rumors of them working together in a duo mixtape or a duo album. But fans wanted more to come from Ken, and that would come in Ken announcing a song releasing on Valentine's Day. Fans on TikTok went crazy for this song, with users 44boy and 66v3r saying they're only excited for the song dropping instead of Valentine's Day. But one more thing had to come out before that, and that was the Lost Files series. Ken dropped Lost Files 4, containing songs like Free Young Thug, Bosses, and Let's Go Shopping. First song, Free Young Thug, produced by Lucrative, pays homage to Young Thug, who was recently incarcerated, and with Ken actually knowing Young Thug, he makes an announcement that they need to free him because it's not okay. Finally, the last song I'm covering is Let's Go Shopping, produced by Lucian and Berto. And it gave us a perspective into the new sound that Ken was incorporating into the next project, with Ken talking about his favorite fashion brands.
Let's go shopping, we in Balenciaga. Let's go shopping, I'm sharing money, niggas.
But there's something even deeper here. There was merch released by Ken that featured the text, A Great Chaos. So that might be the name for the next project. And on Valentine's Day, although not exactly at 12 o'clock, I Need You did release. And if you know the song, it brings a lot of memories back in 2023 and is a pretty nostalgic song if you really think about it. Diddy Bop also made a dance to the song. But going back to Destroy Lonely, Lone dropped If Looks Could Kill on all streaming platforms, taking over spring 2023. And If Looks Could Kill was supposedly having Ken as a feature in it. This then transitioned into April when Lone posted a fit pic with Ken. Ken's wearing an all-white Rick Owens gimp hoodie, and Lone is in an all-black Balenciaga outfit. Further snippets of Ken and Lone surfaced, with the most notable one being Paranoid, with others saying Ken reclaimed the title of the best Opium member. They'd also go on an interview with the brand GOAT, where they would say the greatest blank of all time.
To go number one, I say Rick Owens, just on some essential shit. We wear Rick every day. We got Rick on right now.
This then culminated in Lone releasing promotional material for If Looks Could Kill in the Look Killa short film, with Ken making an appearance in the film, having no lines. The album officially came out in May 5, having 26 songs. And remember how Ken was the outro for the last album? He's the outro for this album as well, with Ken being in the song Money and X. This song would gain a lot of traction on TikTok as there's multiple beat pauses in the song, and it's the third most popular song on the album. And we also saw Ken and Lone bring out their best in one another. And as Lone just dropped his project, there were further rumors of the Opium Twins mixtape coming out, but that was not the case. 2023 was marked with a bunch of lies. The next album that was coming out was gonna be postponed a lot. On a good note though, Ken got his mom a house for a year because of music. And what we did get was a bunch of Instagram lives. The most notable song is the one You Know, and it would take over TikTok only a few months later, with its beat pauses being one of the most notable features in it. This was then followed in June 2, with Ken announcing on Twitter a Great Chaos July 17th, followed up by Ken making a burner account called A Great Chaos on the 4th, with that account having the words A Great Chaos at its profile picture and its content containing promotional material for the album. This was then followed up by the Rolling Loud confirming the release next month. I think you see a pattern. Ken was also seen hanging around with Lil Uzi, with Uzi bringing him out to perform in the Governor's Ball in New York City. Ken even previewed a music file containing Uzi and Destroy Lonely on a supposed song called Like This. Uzi was also rumored to drop Pink Tape the next month, and Ken might make an appearance on an album. With the promotion of A Great Chaos in full effect, Ken was being accused of stealing something. People were saying he was stealing Yabujin and Cemetery's aesthetic, as Yabujin is also known for that high saturation style in his videos and promotional material, and Cemetery is known for the bats and being in graveyards. But again, Ken is only really taking inspiration from different artists. Another theme from the rollout was the Rick Owens GIMP holes from the various Rick Owens sets that contain them. Ken would convert the pictures of pop culture like Ed, Ed, and Eddie into the GIMP holes from Rick Owens. That would define A Great Chaos. And you could put it in text too, put it in the chat. Amidst all of this, A Great Chaos was getting closer and closer. Ken was going on Instagram Live previewing snippets for the album. He finally released a track list in June 26, having 14 tracks, with tracks like Singapore, Paranoid, and Jennifer's Body being confirmed to be on the album. Ken also started receiving a bunch of backlash for the imagery he was portraying in the rollout, with Ken being called disgusting for his actions. But we also got something else.
You know, I got this beat from this one rapper, right? And he a young nigga, he younger than me. And his name Ken Carson. Like my biggest idol. updates. Different stage.
Ken and Uzi would make another appearance together, with Destroy Lonely also being in there in Montreality. where Uzi talks about how he gets his styling tips from Ken and Lone.
Because they real ass niggas and they dress better than me. They actually be teaching me what to do.
Carti would also start the rollout for his next album, with a tour being announced called the Antagonist Tour. The tour had all the Opium members in its lineup, including Ken, but that wasn't until September last year. So, A Great Chaos should be dropping before the tour. Finally, on July 12th, Ken had an announcement saying, "Here we go," with another tweet containing the Rick Owens GIMP mask and text. He announced the release of the lead single of the album in Freestyle 4, or It's Over. Unfortunately, that day also had an announcement with Ken not being able to release the album because of factors outside of his control. A Great Chaos never came out that July. All we got was More Lies and Instagram Lives. And around the time, Carti was also touring. And Carti would do a show in Miami where he would have an after party. And Ken and Lone and Opium Baby are trapped in a cage with Carti just jumping on top of them. He was doing all that, but A Great Chaos wasn't there yet, with fans looking for the album. There would be some hope though, as Ken and August would post a picture in the It's Over.mp3 coast. We were finally getting new music, or so we thought. Around the time Ken went to Europe, a notable performance in this European tour was the performance in Blockfest, where he performed in Tampere, Finland. And European fans really brought the energy. Ken also did interviews in Europe with him talking about songs on the album. This was most evident in him talking about the song that would go crazy all over TikTok. He talks about how Green Day's really inspired the song and how he's trying to take a different direction for the album. When Ken got back to the US, he did an interview with On AMP. And some people noticed something. There was something changing in Ken. He was gaining a little weight, and fans started comparing him to Lucky and said he ate the album. But Ken would do something about this later that would shock all the Opium fans. But we're not there yet. Thankfully, in September 7, we got a date that was possible and consistent with Ken. He announced the release of the album on Friday the 13th. What comforted fans even more was the fact that Ken posted a picture of him in a mask with the date 2023-10-13. We also got confirmations for music videos in the album, with Jennifer's Body.mp4 being posted. And you remember how Ken gained a little weight? Well, that's not the case anymore. Fans were shocked when Ken posted a picture on Snapchat, looking nice, with a chiseled jawline. Fans even joked around saying he was mewing, which is the act of putting the tongue on the roof of your mouth, and that Ken was look-smaxing for the album. Ken then dropped a tweet saying "so excited" a week before the album dropped, and had the pre-save link posted on the 6th, with Ken revealing the cover art for the album. The album had an additional 18 tracks to the previous 14, and we were blessed with a variety of new songs. With the album right around the corner, the promotion would make it all the way to New York City's Times Square, and we'd get an announcement of a listening party happening in Brooklyn Hill from Spotify. Now, when I tell you the show was crazy, the show was crazy. And A Great Chaos would finally drop on the 13th, with fans calling it Ken's best album to date. And this album would become his most popular album ever, and most of the songs on this album have over 10 million streams. The album had so many highlights, most notably in Jennifer's Body, which took over TikTok. The song actually pays homage to Green Day's Gapped Riddance with its intro. He also included a line from the snippets in the song.
Fuck.
Jennifer body, my bitch is a honey, my bitch is a boy, I eat 'em. She don't even want no food, it's deep, the only thing I feed 'em.
The song after this, which is Fighting My Demons, was produced by the Dutch duo Bart Howe, Warren Hunter, and LVIS, and is one of the best songs to come off the album, with the song going so perfect in the mosh pit. And another song I'm covering on this album is the song Singapore, where Ken and Lone would go back and forth on an alien-like beat produced by Lil 88, Nick Spiders, Law, and TM88. And it's just like the snippet that's always been previewed, with Ken and Lone doing their thing.
Rockin' Magic City with 100 through the whole thing. I got rich before I turned 23 like LeBron James. I get higher than a UFO, bitch, I'm an alien. I just got this hoe from the Middle East.
But after that, a song that I can't do much justice is the song Hardcore. There's actually a TikTok edited version of the song with a woman screaming. It's called the AGC Mix, and fans on TikTok would make the song even better. The production from the Dutch duo wholeheartedly complements the song's vibe. But an even more complex beat that just sounds absolutely mind-boggling is the song Me and My Cup, with Ken's arsenal of producers making an effort to produce the best thing they can on the song. And it's my favorite Ken song ever. A Great Chaos is Ken's most recent album and would go down as an album that fans would continue saying is album of the year. And personally, I would say it's album of the year. Fantano even gave the album a 3 out of 10, which is basically an Opium 9, a vast improvement from the last rating he gave him. The album went on to debut at number 11 on the Billboard Hot 200 and is by far Ken's most popular album ever. Drake even followed Ken and gave him a cosign. And merch was also released for the album, with signed CDs coming out for people who opted for physical copies, and a Great Chaos long sleeves and shirt releasing for all his fashion people. But this also led fans to wanting more music, and there were a lot of snippets that were unanswered. The most notable snippet from this is the song 00 Dark Side, which I believe is going to be the best collaboration between Ken and Lone since MDMA.
My diamonds came from Africa, bro, my bitch from Berlin. It's got a bitch from Italy, long go fuck her friend.
And another thing came in November 6th, with Ken tweeting out the word more, confirming the deluxe to a Great Chaos in More Chaos, with him going on tour with Red Hot Chili Peppers and Ice Cube on December 4, with fans joking that Ken was gonna have grandpas moshing to his music. But something even more important came. In December 14, when Carti published a video alongside Ken and Lone, with people theorizing that Ken might make a feature on that song. And Carti would release that song, which would eventually be called Tundra or Hood by Air.
I jump out the lamb truck, she thought that I lost it. I jump on my red, I push shot, then I go to Boston.
Although Ken doesn't play a direct feature in the song, Carti would hug Ken in the music video. And XQC, the streamer, would react to this music video by saying that Ken looks like Ja Morant. And Ken would comment on that reaction. But speaking of Ja, Ken would make an appearance in an Atlanta Hawks game. And as of January 2024, Ken has released a few songs, not officially, in Rick and Designer. But no official announcement of More Chaos's release date has come out yet. He'd also do a song officially released by the German rapper UFO 361, produced by Lucid Beats, called Rick Owens, showing Ken's ability to rap on a Jersey beat. And so far, that's all we have. Ken, to me, is one of the most inspirational figures in music, alongside Lone and Carti. I copy his clothes, I copy his drip, and he's one of my favorite artists. And I feel like we could all take a lesson from his journey, still working hard to go up and meeting the right people to get us where we need to be. So I appreciate each and every one of you for making it to the end of the video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.